Jessica from expressionsvinyl.com, and today I want to show you how to make a customized stencil using your Cricut machine and some vinyl. So if you've ever wanted to make like a wood sign, I'm going to show you how to do that using your Cricut machine. So let's go over to the software and get started. Okay, so we are going to go over to the Cricut software here, and I am in the store, and I am going to use this file. The days are long, years are short, and it's by Corey Clark. So I have already purchased this, so I'm going to go back into my design layout. And I have measured my board here, and I'm going to make a square the same size as my board. And this is going to help with applying the vinyl and also with weeding. So I've got my square set at 11 inches by about 12 inches. And I'm going to zoom out, and I am just going to lay this. I've got this all sized to where I want it as well. So I'm going to lay it on top of my square where I want it. And then I'm going to select both. Oops, I got to zoom out a little more. Okay, I'm going to select over both and attach these together. So when they cut, it'll cut all together. So now I'm going to click go. And it's going to change me to a 12 by 24 mat. That's fine. Okay, so I'm going to load in my vinyl, and I'm going to cut this out. Okay, so we've got that all cut out. I'm going to unload it, and we are ready to weed it out. Now this is the part where we change things up. We are going to weed it opposite of what you normally weed it. So scoot some things out of the way. And I am just going to peel this up. And remember, we made our little box around our image. So we are going to weed out the outside parts of that. Trim this off so I can save this bottom piece of vinyl. And with making stencils, it doesn't really matter what color of vinyl you're using because you're just going to paint in the cavities and peel it off. So color doesn't matter. Use scraps. I today am using the Oracal 631, but you can use whatever type of vinyl you have lying around. You're not going to have it on your board long enough for, if you're using like a permanent adhesive, it's not going to be on your board long enough to stick and make it permanent. So use whatever scraps you have. So I'm just going to go around and trim this up. And this weeding box makes it nice because then when you go to apply it to your project, it's the same size as my board. So it makes lining things up much easier. And it also gives me an edge. So when I'm painting, I don't have to be so careful with my paint. So now this is the part where we're going to weed opposite we normally would. So we're going to pull out the letters instead of leaving them there. So going to start weeding those out. And you want to make sure you leave like the middles of your E. You want to leave those there and make sure they don't come up. Okay, so we've got this all weeded out. We've just weeded out the parts where we want our paint to show through and left our vinyl to use as our stencil. So I'm using 631. It really doesn't matter what type of vinyl you use. Just use a scrap. Color totally doesn't matter because you're going to paint it and then peel it off. So let's get our transfer tape here so we can apply it to our project. And I am using the paper transfer tape, but any transfer tape will work great. Trim that off, whoops. All right. Let's go over this with my application tool. Make sure it's stuck all over, and then I'm going to trim it out. Just trim off the excess transfer tape. All right. And now we are ready to apply this to our wood. Get rid of this stuff. Okay, so I have painted my wood The turquoise color I'm using is Folk Art Dutch Aqua, and it is such a pretty color. And then I also used the gold Martha Stewart metallic on the edges, and that's what I'm going to use for my stencil. So we made our little weeding box in our program the same size as our wood. So super easy to line up. So I'm just going to peel off our paper backing. Okay, and then we are ready to apply this guy. Make sure he's all lined up. So when you've painted your piece of wood, you want to make sure, you want to paint it first and make sure it's had time to dry. So I would let it dry for at least a couple hours. 24 would be best, but just make sure it's nice and dry before you put your vinyl on top of it. Okay, now I'm going to peel off the transfer tape. And you want to make sure you get all your little pieces that are supposed to be stuck down, like the middle of your A's and E's. Make sure those are sticking down, or that's going to mess up your stencil. All right. So you can see where our turquoise is showing through the orange vinyl, and this is where we're going to paint. Okay, so I want to show you a trick using for your transfer tape. I did this on Facebook Live the other day. So you can use your piece you just peeled off. I crumpled mine up before I remembered, but I'm going to just take this little piece of transfer tape, and instead of using like a paper plate or something, I'm just going to squeeze my paint right onto that. And then when I'm all done, I can just peel up the transfer tape and throw it in the garbage. So when you're painting, you want to use really thin layers of paint. So I've got my brush here, and I'm going to dab a little off, and then I'm just going to use nice even strokes and paint right over my vinyl. And you don't want to use too much paint or it'll seep through. So if you just do nice thin layers, you'll get nice crisp lines. So we'll just get this guy all painted. And it might take a couple layers. Just let them dry in between layers. So now we are on our last layer of paint. So I'm just going to show you how I get a thin coating. You don't want to do too much. Just dab it in there. Okay, our paint is all dry and we are ready to peel off our stencil and reveal our final project. So I'm just going to slowly peel this up. And if it tears, it's okay because we can go back and get the rest. I am loving this gold. It is so pretty. And you can see our vinyl just peels right up. Doesn't peel up our paint because we let it dry before we put it on. All right, I think I got all the big stuff. Now I need to go in and carefully pop out my middles with my knife. Okay, so I'm just going to carefully stick my knife underneath and pop up those middles. You could use a weeding tool or a pin, whatever you have. Okay, we've got all our vinyl stencil material peeled off, and look how pretty. Turned out so good. Nice crisp lines and super fun. So you can make your own custom stencil using your Cricut machine and some scrap pieces of vinyl. If you guys like this tutorial, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel if you want more tips and tricks, and we love reading your nice comments. Thanks, guys.